know if you can be trusted. I'm standing you down, Rachel. I don't care. You have no idea what they're capable of. I need to shut it all down. Showtime! This is what
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2023 Netflix action film Heart of Stone. The film is directed by Tom Harper and it stars Gal Gadot, Jamie Dornan, Aaliyah Bart, Jing Lucy, Paul Reddy. And it focuses on Gal Gadot's character, Rachel Stone, who is a very competent assassin, spy, whatever you want to call her, really. She works for a secret organisation. Imagine the Kingsman, if you like, but it's not. The secret organisation essentially gives her all the tools she needs to succeed in her missions. They've got this technologically advanced piece of equipment called Heart that can predict outcomes, can read situations, and they feed that information back to her to give her a massive advantage in any kind of scenario, including combat scenarios. She is working like undercover with another team. This team thinks she's some kind of analyst or computer expert. They're constantly telling her to stay in the van while they go out and do all the work, unaware that in actual fact she is far more skilled than any of them. And that she's trying to uncover the whereabouts of a known terrorist, but in actual fact this terrorist and others are trying to manipulate this equipment that her organisation has, the Heart, from them in order to use it for their own dastardly plans. Right, what are my thoughts on Heart of Stone? Well, I have to be honest, I wasn't overly interested in checking this one out. The trailer didn't do an awful lot for me, and I knew I would probably struggle to buy Gal Gadot as this, like, unstoppable, like, spy or whatever they want to call her in this film. I completely buy her as Wonder Woman because, the film's selling that she's got these superpowers, and I think she does a good job as Wonder Woman. Absolutely, I do. And I enjoyed certainly the first movie that she did as Wonder Woman, and her appearances in some of the other films, especially Batman vs Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. And after watching this film, while I do think a lot of effort has been put into this film, it's very glossy, it's very shiny, it's got obviously a decent budget to it. For me, this just felt like a really dull, bland and predictable action film. Again, and I have said this before in reviews, it felt like they tapped in a few scenarios to an AI, a bits of information, and this AI's vomited out this action film. It just feels like everything we've seen before. Nothing new, nothing original, no standout action scenes, and probably one of the worst scripts I've seen or heard for quite some time. I mean, the dialogue here is truly awful at times. You've got scenes where they're escaping the bad guys, Gal Gadot's driving, and she's coming out with things like, okay, this could be intense. And then someone says to her, are you trying to kill us? And she's like, pretty much the opposite, actually. I mean, it's head in hand moments, a lot of the dialogue in this film. It's like a toddler has written it, or certainly someone about the age of 10 maximum, or a student who's just started film studies. I don't know. I know that's obviously not the case, but it's really poor, I think, the script here. And I have to say, I've never really, I do know a lot of people out there, who are really overly negative towards, females portraying strong female leads in films. They've got an agenda where they say this, that, and the other about them, and I know there is a bit of an agenda of people jumping on a bandwagon saying that Gal Gadot is not a good actress. Honestly, I've never really noticed it before. I've always thought she's been fine in everything I've ever seen up to this point. I just didn't enjoy her performance here. I thought at times it was, and I'm going to be kind here, I thought it was below average. She didn't sell the action scenes for me. And for me, if you've got a woman of Gal Gadot's stature, which is me saying she's very, very slim, obviously a very beautiful woman, but she's a very, very slim woman. If you're going to try and sell her in action scenes, going up against, a number of oppositions, mostly males, you've got to really sell it. And I just don't feel as though this film did it. I just didn't buy the action scenes. And she spends much of the film unconscious. I mean, she must have had like 6 concussions in this film because she's constantly unconscious in this film. And I don't know if that's coincidental or if it's the film trying to portray to the audience that she's vulnerable here, she's not invincible. I couldn't quite get why they kept doing it, but it was like literally at the end of every action scene, she would appear to be unconscious, and I didn't really understand the whole point of her being in a team within a team, because obviously this other team she was in had no idea who she was and who she worked for. And I just couldn't really figure out why she needed them at all if she was so skilled, other than for the plot twist that happens a bit later in the film. That's the only reason that she was in a team within a team, if you like, for a plot twist. And granted, I thought the plot twist was handled pretty well. I didn't see it coming, if I'm honest. But when you actually analyse why she was in that team in the first place, she didn't need them. Why was she there? And it was quite clearly just for that plot device. The film is just far too long. It's over 2 hours. Now, a 2-hour film watching John Wick go at the bad guys, or something along them lines, I can certainly tolerate, but not this, because like I said, nothing I think is done outstandingly well. It's all shiny and it's all glossy and there's lots of explosions and gunfights and all that kind of stuff, but none of it is memorable. And I think Netflix is now getting to the point where they're churning out a lot of these shiny, glossy action films, but in actual fact, there's just no soul there with a lot of them. And I think that is definitely a shame. I do think this film had potential. Unfortunately, it is like the trailer. When I watched the trailer, and I thought, that doesn't look particularly good. My first impressions were correct, if you like. It isn't very good. In actual fact, I think it's pretty much dire at times. I just think it's pretty much everything that's wrong with action films these days, for the most part. Showing the audience something shiny, glossy, loud, and they'll enjoy it, sort of thing. And audiences these days won't necessarily stand for that type of film anymore. There's just nothing under the surface of this. It's just nice and shiny, and underneath there's just nothing there to really grasp your audience. There's no memorable characters. The script is very unhelpful. The performance of the lead performer, Gal Gadot, is not up to standard. And for me, it wasn't memorable, and it didn't stand out in any way, shape or form. So that is my review for Heart of Stone. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. I will, of course, be back with plenty more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.